Good morning, beautiful people. My name is Jean-Pierre.
I'm Rebecca Woodmass.
And yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, we love your energy. And we belong here.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. We belong here. So, just a quick introduction. Are we good with this?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, let's just go full screen and let's go on beast mode this morning.
It's probably me with the high five running across the screen.
So, quick introduction. Let me just introduce to you Rebecca Woodmass. So, Rebecca goes by the pronoun she, her, and they and them. She's one of my first partner in crime in this adventure of the Montreal chapter Lesbian Zutec. She's the most optimistic person that I know. And my personality has two strong poles. I'm a very traditional conservative, you can't tell, right? The two-piece suit. Very traditional, conservative, you know, rational. And I have this other side that is very much political, questioning authority, rad, and bold. And this is what I share with Rebecca. She's one of the boldest, rad person that I know as well. Now, that being said, she's the founder of Quill Creative, which is a company that offers services in web development and web design, as well as an artist. She has, as we say in French, plusieurs cordes à son arc. Yes, that's the one. She's an artist as well, so she's a writer. She wrote a poetry book called Tiny World. And she has a background in classical singing. She's a techie and a background in technical singing, so she's an opera singer. Wow. Yes, wow. You're saying wow because I present her well, right? Okay. So that being said, what's really interesting about her is that whether she's my co-director in Lesbian Zutec, whether she's an opera singer, she's an artist, a writer, or doing web design, web development, she's consistent in this one thing. She always dedicates herself at giving voice and space at all times to historically marginalized people. So this is Rebecca Woodmass.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Rachel and I are Montreal Tech's power couple, basically. Rachel works as a paid advertising analyst at iProspect, and she has incredible life experience working in social justice as well as an activist. And it's such a pleasure to lead this chapter of Lesbians Who Tech with her. We really complement each other's personalities. She stays cool when I get really worked up and passionate, and she's really good at diplomacy and networking, while I would rather just fly off the handle. Yeah, she's a super badass partner in working for social change, and it's an honor to be on stage with her today. Rachel Jean-Pierre.
Thank you. So now let's break down this talk. What are we going to talk about, Rebecca?
So today we're going to explore inclusivity in the tech sector according to 3 points. We, belong, and here. So the question for we is, who are we, and who do we talk about when we use the word we? Belong. What is belonging exactly, and why is it so difficult to attain? And here, how can each of us, here and now, work to be more inclusive wherever we are? So first, the we.
Okay, so literally we're just going to illustrate the we. In 2015, I went and assisted at my first Lesbian Zutec summit in San Francisco, as well as in New York. When I came back from this, I was so inspired and I had so much energy. I'm like, we have to bring this back. We have to do this in Montreal. So basically, we since then, since 2015, we've been the most active, and we've been told by the head office that we're like on fire. We've had an amazing, great, and strong membership base, as well as we're growing, and we had to grow our team. Now, that being said, just to tell you, for some of you who don't know about Lesbians Tech, it's a global initiative that started in San Francisco in 2012. A woman in the name of Leanne Pittsford was working in tech and was wondering, where are the lesbians? Where are the queer folks? So basically, she gathered together some people and started doing happy hours, and thought that this experiment would fail. For some of us who know the lesbian community, we usually open bars, and we don't last. The guys take over because they're the ones that are like consuming, and they're the ones who's spending their money. So 6 years later, we're more than 30,000 members across the world in 37 chapters internationally. And not only is there we're in the States, we're in Canada, we're in the Middle East, Asia, and Latin America. But today we want to focus on something, because it's always nice to say we've done beautiful things, we've done great things, we're successful, but we actually want to talk about the challenges and how we struggle at some level. So one thing I forgot really quickly, what's the mandate of Lesbians Tech? Basically, by doing this initiative, what we wanted to do was to actually be more visible to one another, get more women, encourage women of color, and as well as lesbians and queer folks in the tech community, connect LGBTQ organizations and women organizations that are doing amazing work in the community as well. And last but not least, be more visible, because I don't know for yourself, when you find a model or someone that looks like you in your field, I don't know, it gives you this push and encourages you to go further and say, you know what, I can do this. So when we began, we were confident in Montreal that we'd have no problem, because we knew individually and personally some people, some queer folks and lesbians in the tech industry. Now, what we realized is that still in that scheme of our theme of we approach people to be together and just get together and go through those mandated missions with us. But we faced some kind of like resistance, as some of them didn't identify with the word lesbian. They found that it was not very inclusive. Some other felt like, you know, they were more queer for different kind of reasons, like whether they felt they were bisexual or they were questioning their identity or sexual orientation. I mean, they didn't feel like they totally belong. So that's one of the things that we faced, though they felt that they were in tech. Now, on the other side, some other people like myself didn't think that we were tech enough, because we were not coders, because we didn't work in IT department. And I don't know if it rings a bell, like tech is pretty large. So we spend a lot of time and we spend a lot of energy.
Time's up.
We spend okay, what time? How much time do we have? Okay, so we spend a lot of time and energy actually reassuring people and make them feel comfortable in that space. Now, another challenge that we had, so when we started doing outreach in the community, we met amazing allies in the startup industry, in tech organization, and in the media that were doing the same thing that we were doing, or that were articulated or amended, sometimes even better than we did. But what we faced was always, why do we need to have an organization specific to lesbian in technology? And, you know, what can you people, we, bring to this? What are you gonna bring more in the tech sector? So these were some of the challenges that we faced and that we were struggling with at the beginning.
So all of this made us step back and question, who is it that we talk about when we say we? So who is us? And if there is an us, there must be a them. And those are the people that we may be excluding. So we can even do this right now. Look around the room and see who is here. Who do you see? You might see people of color, you might see people with disabilities, you might not, you might see people that look queer, whatever that means. You might see people that you think are women, that you think are men. And then who do you not see? Who isn't here? And then you can also, there's actually a third category, which is who might be here, but you can't tell they're here. So invisible disability. People who maybe are more elderly or younger, people who are not visible just by looking at them. Queers, sometimes.
There's,
Go ahead.
There's a beautiful quote, actually, that actually sums it up from Neil Lennon, and it goes like this: if you do not intentionally include, then you will unintentionally exclude. So every action, every decision we make, even though we sometimes say that we don't do anything, we always do something by sometimes not doing anything. So now this is beautiful talk, and you're here to get something concrete, and as our VP operation always says, Claire, who's right here, she's, whenever we're trying to go philosophical and talk about big concepts, she's like, that's a lot of talk. What can we do exactly? What are we going to do concretely? So that's the question. How do we expand our ideas, or what do we do to include the we? So we have companies, we have businesses, we have organizations that are built on profitability and profit. So unfortunately, those spaces are not necessarily the right space to actually be empathetic or talk about inclusion or bring that to the agenda. Now, that being said, if we don't take some time, or if we don't change something in the moment of how we're doing things, then we're still going to get these subjects at the bottom of the agenda. So this would be one of the first steps to actually try to bring this topic up the list. Now, how do you do that? One of the ways that you can do it is organize a day, organize a meeting. Like, I'm not talking about something very extensive or complicated. Just personally, organize a day, a meeting, or a moment where you're regularly in contact with other people, and beware of these subjects that are always being talked over or postponed or at the bottom of the list and that never resurface. So concretely speaking again, thinking about Claire, the people that are talkers like me, shut up. Just shut up 2 seconds and just listen. Be mindful of the people that are not always talking, and encourage others that are usually more listening and not voicing their opinion to actually speak up.
So next is belonging. So when I first heard about Lesbians Who Tech from Rachel, I was invited to be part of the organizing committee, and I said, I'm not a lesbian. I didn't identify as a lesbian. I was queer. Queer to me is a political identity. It's an attraction to a spectrum of genders, not just other women. And so I said no. I said, nah, not for me. But that said, I still signed up for the email list for Lesbians Who Tech to check them out, kind of under the radar. And I was actually really impressed with what they were doing. So I decided to go to the summit, which was in New York in September. And I arrived there, and I was a little bit skeptical. I'm also a bit of an anti-capitalist, and so the corporate sponsorship for me was like, I don't know, But I showed up. I was willing. And what I found was unbelievable. In spite of the corporate sponsors, they still featured activists on their main stage. They have a mandate to feature, at the minimum, 50% speakers of color in every single event. I was very impressed by that. They have a mandate to feature at least 25% trans women and non-binary individuals in their speakers. And this was also reflected in the audience. So they didn't expect us as like queers or trans folks or people that are not lesbians to just show up and that would be their diversity and inclusion. They put us front and center. And that was huge for me. I felt like if I were to speak at Lesbians Who Tech, that my voice would not only be listened to, but that it would be valued, that it would be revered. And to me, that is really what we're going for with diversity and inclusion. And so I actually came back to Montreal and I called Rachel up and I said, I want to be your co-director. Yeah. I'm in. And here we are today, 2 years later. So this, because I felt like I belong in this community, I was then capable of welcoming others. So think about a moment where you didn't really, like you came into the room and you're like, I don't know if I belong here, I don't know if I'm tech enough, I don't know if I'm whatever. You're not then also capable of seeing someone like you and welcoming them into that space. So that's what I was capable of once I felt welcomed into Lesbians Who Tech.
So now, in the spirit of Claire, what can you do? This is all blah, blah, but what can we do, seriously? How can we foster a sense of belonging? Because you can't buy it at Walmart, you know? How can you... Corporate world, yes. So how can you foster, seriously speaking, how can we foster a sense of belonging? How can you make other people feel like, you know, they are part of this, they belong in that space? So in the spirit of getting this a little bit more dynamic, we're gonna lead an exercise that was inspired by Damien Hopper-Campbell, who's the Chief Diversity Officer at eBay. So, yes. So you're gonna partner up with the person next to you. And yes, don't be afraid to look. There is someone next to you.
And make sure everyone's included.
Yes, know? And even if you're on a row where you're the only one, you can get closer. It's not going to be too long. It's not going to be too weird, but just
the weirdness is up to you. You know?
Just play with us. Yes, I like that. I like that. Shaking hands, moving. I like that. Yes, yes. Okay. Is everybody partnered up? Everybody's partnered. Anybody that's not partnered up? No? Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I like to force things. Okay, so you're gonna choose a person A and you're gonna choose a person B. You have 2 seconds. Done. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we got the 2 seconds. Done. So the person A wins $1 million. And you can't switch. You can't switch. After all, I have a suit, so let's go back to the seriousness of things. Seriously, person B, you're going to share a story in about 45 to 50 seconds. You're going to share a story where you felt you were excluded. Now, this can be a story, everybody's paired, right? Okay. Okay. Oh,
that's
3?
Okay.
Oh, we have 3, perfect. So we'll make it just a little bit longer. So you're going to choose a moment. Person B is going to start. You're going to choose a moment where you felt like you were excluded. It could be a work situation. It could be when you were a kid. It could be when you were a teen, when you moved into a new country, move into a new neighborhood, start in a new school, travel to a new place, or being in a space where you didn't speak the language. So you have about 50 seconds to share that situation. Don't go too much in details, just share. Go. Wow. Who's calculating 50 seconds?
Me.
Laura? 50 seconds, so 50 seconds, so that's about, oh, we have 9 minutes left. Okay, perfect. So Yeah, that's perfect.
Start to wrap it up.
Start to wrap up.
One. All right, you don't have to tell your life story, you know? Okay, everyone stop talking. Let's have total silence. And then we'll switch to person B. Okay? Go, 50 seconds.
And then we have people C. It's fine? We have 9 minutes left.
So it's perfect. Just have to go fast. Start to wrap it up. To wrap it up, once you're done, we're going to carry on an old lesbian Sutek tradition of high fives. Yeah. Great.
We have people that speak French here, right? Hey, vous avez de la jasette. Okay, so let's keep going. So I'm going to ask person A to share what they heard. And I think we have a microphone. We're going to choose 3 people in the room, or you can volunteer. The person A is going to share what they've heard.
We need 3 volunteers.
Do you still remember who's A and B?
Put up your hand.
Oh, right here.
Okay, we have one person here.
1.
Julia? Oh, shoot. Okay, one person here. After, and then the third, maybe from over here. Yep, great. Okay.
Yay.
Hi. Well, Stephanie and her boyfriend run a specialty coffee company, and they both go to cafes and restaurants to present their products and speak with the people there. But it seems like often the people there will get into a conversation with the boyfriend and leave her out of it. That was a short version.
Thank you. Thank you.
And how do you think she feels about it?
Well, she feels excluded. She feels like she might not. She says she doesn't know as much about coffee as he does, but I think she probably knows 10 times more about coffee than most people.
Oh yes. Do you want to add anything to what you just said? Any emotion that you felt?
Intimidating, actually. I'd say a part of the exclusion is often self-imposed for me anyway, because I'm the one making that judgment call about if I know enough to be included or to be involved, whereas I guess I should just kind of be like, you know, whatever, it doesn't matter if I'm on a scale of 1 to 10, like a 9 or a 10, and on the knowledge base, I should just try and get more involved in the conversation anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Who has a bigger
Hello. What I heard about person A, who happens to be a very talented and intelligent designer, she was sitting at a meeting for a software development project, and she was working with all of the people involved, but she kept getting interrupted, and she wasn't being heard, and it was very frustrating. Boo.
So she was frustrated. She didn't feel like she was being heard. Anything you want to add?
I'll give you the Coles Notes version.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you guys want the rest of the story? Or? Like, well, it was a really... heated like moment in a really big release, and there's a lot of complexity going on. And so we had this really heated, weird meeting with lots of interrupting. But after I sort of pulled aside one of the team leads that was not an interrupter, but was cool, and talked to him about it, and ever since then, he'd make a big show about like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, and like people followed suit with it, so I didn't actually have to learn how to interrupt better in the end. So it was good.
Thank you.
That's really cool.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my person A was actually bullied as a child. And she had made a video on YouTube of her singing a song. Unfortunately, her classmates found out and made it a lot worse at school.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And that really just sucks. What's wrong with people?
Yeah.
Seriously. What are the emotions involved?
Yes.
Well,
oh, it's okay. I felt excluded and sad because I thought I sang good back then, but I got better by time. But it just pushed me to get better and like show them people I'm greater now. So I guess it helped me grow at some point.
Okay.
Thank
you for sharing. Thank you all for sharing amongst yourself. We did this exercise because we wanted to illustrate how, the sentiment and the feeling of belonging is really important. And, we just did an exercise of empathy right now. We're in microcosm of sharing, and then we realize how much emotion we share with everybody. And it's not because you're black, white, or you're gay, but we all have this feeling of exclusion. So when you approach people in the future, think about this emotion. Or when you're in an environment or in a meeting and things are happening, just think about how this creates a sense of exclusion. And it's really hard to, when you don't feel like you belong in an environment, to actually get other people to belong and be part of it. So, am I good, Claire? Concrete? Okay, thank you.
I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, just because we only have 2 minutes left. Is that a real 2 minutes, or is it like kind of a...
Okay.
So now we're moving to here. Rachel, do you want to tell the story super quick, and I'll do my thing super quick?
Very, very quick.
Great.
Okay, I'll do that quick. In 2016, Rebecca joined, and she joined us at one of the events that we did together. And basically, the event was amazing. It was great. We had this photographer named Anne Claxton who captured the moment, and I was really excited. And I chose the picture, chose the best picture ever. Took my time. Took about an hour and a half. Everybody who knows me knows that I'm super busy. An hour and a half is a lot of time. And then I submitted to Rebecca so she can feel like she's being part of the process of decision. And this is what she answers.
I noticed there's not a lot of folks of color.
And this is how I reacted. Literally, not very inclusive as a response, right? So what we need to understand is that even me, as a lesbian, as a black lesbian, I can have my little purse, I can have part of my life where I'm not fully comfortable to develop. And these are the things, when we think about concrete things, when you have to start with yourself. I was making assumptions that the fact that I was in the event, that I was leading the event, that was enough. There's a black woman of color, and she's looking for more. So keep that in mind when you're having when you're thinking about the here and the now. I feel like I'm in a rush.
We are in a rush.
Okay, go.
So what is the reason that diversity and inclusion initiatives fail? What is the reason, ultimately? I have something to say about that. And I had a whole framing of this idea, plan, but I think you're sharp enough that you'll probably get just the main point.
Okay.
Diversity and inclusion initiatives fail because they're trying to include people within a structure that formerly used those same people as currency. So why do we think that we can just kind of put a Band-Aid solution of diversity and inclusion on a structure that was built specifically to silence us. Let that sink in. And you can also steal that sentence. So I could go around and ask what the emotions are around that statement. But what I want, my point in saying that is that change needs to come from the changing of the structure itself, the structure of our businesses, the structure of capitalism, the structure of what our society is built on. And that actually, it sounds very overwhelming, but it starts with basic human interaction. We can't put a Band-Aid on a system. We just can't. We have to change it within ourselves. These systems live in micro moments in our own bodies, and we've gotten used to them. And so developing and cultivating a willingness to face these very uncomfortable truths about the realities that we're living in is how we will actually achieve true inclusivity, a willingness to change, and a willingness to maybe even not see as big a change as we're hoping for in our lifetime. So what we can do is we can cultivate that courage, that willingness to sit with something, that willingness to not just fix something, but to truly listen to each other, to truly work for change in each of our own lives and in each of our interactions.
So back to why inclusive, oh, did I go too fast?
I think we should go to this slide. Do you think?
So we are at the end of our presentation, and let's wrap it up. So if you just walked in this room, or if you zone out and you thought that it was not that great of a presentation, which is fine, we want you to leave with 3 things, concrete, that you can start now, here, small step, today. So organize the day, as we were saying in the beginning, to focus on issues and voices that are being talked over. Talkers like me, shut up, and encourage other people to speak up. The second thing, the belong. Share your story of exclusion and belonging with other people. You're not the only one who felt excluded at a certain time of your life. So this is a way to connect with other people. And the last, here, start now, and start small. We're going to be here all day, so if you want to ask us questions, you want to approach us, and we can share so much more with you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take a picture of this slide so you can be in touch with us later. Thank you.
Maybe there's the break right now, so we can still take 5 minutes for questions.
Oh, okay.
If there are questions.
Any questions? Oh.
Yes.
Wait a sec.
Well, Rebecca, thank you for your last comment to say that in order to make inclusivity and diversity a reality, we need to strengthen the structure. However, changing the structure takes a long time. And what would you recommend concretely for Claire we can do to take maybe little steps towards maybe changing the structure, or how we in our life term can do something to promote the inclusiveness and diversity in our culture, society?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's why we focused on 3 main points, because I think the point of our talk is that a diversity and inclusion initiative is a very good thing. It can really help. But ultimately, it won't help if we don't address what is actually in our own individual bodies and our experiences in ourselves and our everyday interactions. So to focus really on a micro level, I think will really help. And it's going to be different for each person, because each person comes from their own individual set of experiences. Each person has certain privileges within the structure that they can either leverage or just use for their own gain. And each person has different challenges. Like, for example, I hate talking on the phone. I basically have a panic attack every time I talk on the phone. Okay, so maybe I'm not going to change the world through talking on the phone. it's a terrible example. But, you know, it's all about, it's individual. And so we specifically left it pretty general. But I really like our first challenge that we gave, which is to organize something in your workplace a whole day, get everyone on board, just say, look, we're always pushing this one item to the end of the agenda. Always. There's always that one item that gets pushed to the end of the agenda. Or someone has a really great idea, and they keep on being like, it'd be so great if we had more time and money, we could do this idea. So spend a day actually exploring, or just one meeting, or just 1 hour, exploring those ideas. Because I think that that inclusion can come from making space for those sorts of ideas and those sorts of voices and making them feel truly heard. And then the other thing that is very concrete is just simply to have those conversations. Just go up to a coworker and say, hey, when was the last time you felt excluded at work? Or go to someone and be willing to share your story. So it's really, it doesn't matter if you are the one excluded or if you're the one excluding someone. Everyone needs to be willing to get more vulnerable, to be more courageous in sharing their stories, to build empathy, because that is going to be the true basis of any sort of change.
I know it's very frustrating as an answer, but until we have quotas for CEOs, project manager, the janitor, at the janitor level, everywhere we have quotas to reach a certain sense of belonging and exclusivity and diversity, we have to start with ourselves. Very frustrating as an answer, but because I felt you and I heard her, but we have to start with us. That's where we can start, and that's what we did.
Thank you. Hi, thank you for the presentation. And I just wanted to say something about the structure and use a concrete example of how it can work. So I lived for 2 years in Japan, and living there, I had to adapt to a new culture, new workplace, and I thought that, I went into a new structure, and I thought the best way for me to adapt would be to conform. And I did that for 2 years, and I didn't realize how much I changed. And when I came back to Canada, Montreal, I kind of realized I had lost myself, like my voice. I was so used to, it's really difficult when you're vulnerable in a different context with a different identity. And sometimes you feel like there's like that much pressure to conform, and what it meant was that because I'm a woman, even though I'm educated, even though I come from this really nice, loving family, I was completely out of it. So all of a sudden, I was just a woman, half Asian, almost nothing. People would just look at my boyfriend and talk to him and never to me. My opinions didn't count. So going back to Montreal, and then we have so many strong women here, we're really lucky. But to find my voice again, I realized that, there's a structure. Yes, we need to adapt, but I feel like looking at it is that I put so much pressure on myself to show other people that I could adapt and be that person that I forgot myself. So what I'm telling you is that, yes, you're getting into the structure, but you don't have to put everything away and be a different person. There's some things you need to let go, but who you are, just don't forget that, So,
wow. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm gonna try my hardest. I have a voice extension. I was the first woman in my team. It's a bigger team now. I work in the VFX studio as a render wrangler. What does that do? Basically, is we get the image render for VFX. So it's the end of our system, the end of the pipeline. And I was the first one to be a woman in my team, and the first one to get the lead position as a girl. But you were talking about quotas, and I've been doing some hirings, and hired actually 2 women on my team. But how do you get more, to me, it's not because I don't want to hire women, it's that we don't actually get a resume for the jobs. It's how do we get more women in tech? That would be also another great step to actually get hire more people. It's not that, for me, that I don't want to hire women, is that I don't get a resume of those women that could also do a great job. Because we do raise different concerns. We have we approach problems differently with our backgrounds, and I think that we're really bringing a different experience to the table. And I found that is a great thing. Diversity is great.
We get that question a lot. Thank you for that question. How do we get more women? I'm just going to do a parallel with a situation that happened. I was at a wedding of power people, lots of men making a lot of money, and they were complaining that, you know, they were afraid to get gold diggers. And I was telling, yeah, I know. I'm a lesbian, so I'm not interested in your money anyways. So I was talking to another friend of mine who has a background in development, cultural development, a Cuban man, and he's like, I hate when people do that, you know? They always complain that they get gold diggers. Though where do they meet these women? Do they go and do some volunteer work? Do they go into community organization? Do they shift their gaze and not always in the same place? You will always get the same people if you stay in the same places. Shift your gaze. Sorry. Oh, I got lost for 2 seconds. Shift your gaze. Change something. You know, there's different ways to hire people. There's not only one way. There's multiple ways to hire people. Mm-hmm. Today we have a pool of amazing people here. You know, some of us are looking for jobs, some of us are looking to change career, some of us have 10, 15, 20 years of experience in project management. We don't know the exact skill, but we have the soft skills. Change within the way you're doing things. We're done. Mic drop. We're out. Thank you so much.
Thanks again.
Thank you. We're going to be here.